I guess we got everybody on board. Happy Chinese New Year and welcome to Plus17, our monthly webinar series. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We know you are busy, and as always, we intend to pack meaningful information into an efficient 30-minute window. Drop any questions you have into the chat as we go through the presentation. We'll definitely save time for Q&A at the end. We'll also be recording this session, and we'll send you a link at the conclusion of the webinar. So let's get started. My name is Anthony Barada, and I'm CTO for 2Plus2 Partners. Today we're going to take a look at SharePoint and Office 365. Specifically, we'll be discussing the different flavors of team collaboration tools available from Microsoft and how to make decisions for adoption within your organization. The Microsoft group collaboration tools share some infrastructure, but each has its distinct focus and direction to support your team's communication and collaboration efforts. So how do you decide which tools to introduce into your company? How can you increase adoption of the tools that best support your organization and reduce or eliminate the usage of non-supported applications? Let's get started with the pros and cons of all the available tools and how each of them can fit into your corporate environment. Team and departmental collaboration with Microsoft umbrella is undergoing a huge transformation. Today we are going to try to distill this chaotic picture down to its essence and provide you direction for your company to pick the correct tool sets for your internal needs. And in order to understand where we're going, sometimes we need to look back at where we are coming from. In the olden days, which sometimes feels like 3 days ago, we relied on phone and email communications as the base options for communicating with our teams and departments. While we had team meetings in person and via conference calls to keep our projects on track and solve important issues, email and picking up the phone was the go-to option for immediate contact and providing the needed direct and asynchronous communications. But now the landscape has changed, with multiple digital tools all expressing that they can support your team collaboration needs. Microsoft tools like Skype, Yammer, Exchange Groups, and SharePoint via team and project sites are all fighting for your attention. The problem is that none of the tools individually have everything you need. A project manager, a team leader, or department lead has both a communication need and a digital file sharing need. Over time, the Microsoft Toolkit has expanded to encompass a wide variety of digital features spread among what is now a growing cloud software ecosystem. While the individual project or team manager had the pick of the software suite, the individual tools were not integrated to the point of seamlessly assisting you with your team collaboration. Working with them made your project needs feel siloed and disjointed. In response, Microsoft has started bundling these tools into integrated packages to more fully support your project and team management needs. But in order to understand the bundles that Microsoft is currently providing, let's look at the individual tools. Microsoft now has a plethora of ways for businesses to collaborate. Here's a list: SharePoint Teamsites, Exchange Groups, Skype for Business, Yammer, Office 365 Groups, and MS Teamsites. They leverage some of the same infrastructure under the covers, but they are different in their features and focus for both team and company style of communication. Let's start with the basics. The tried and true, been around forever Microsoft tools. The first one is SharePoint Teamsites. The current standard for file sharing and digital team departmental management are SharePoint Teamsites. With a shared document library, calendar, events, and tasks, which you can integrate with your personal Outlook calendar, along with workflow and document versioning. The SharePoint Teamsite is now the grand dame of team collaboration. SharePoint Teamsites can be public or private depending on your needs. We also have Exchange Groups. One step up from direct or personal group emails, a company can provide exchange groups to assist with collaborative team needs. Group emails are obviously sent to all team members, but emails are available as threaded discussions within each person's Outlook client, and files can be attached to the group for shared storage. Additionally, each group comes with their own calendar, which can be integrated with your own personal Outlook calendar. Exchange groups are best used for private group collaboration and do not scale well for company-wide communications. So let's move on to the communication part of the collaboration toolkit. One way to think about your collaboration needs is to start with the communications platform and then add in features from there. For example, Skype or Skype for Business. And for many companies, Skype for Business is the go-to tool for voice and instant messaging communications. They allow quick touches with your team members, as well as regular and ad hoc conference calling. The built-in screen sharing is not fancy, but perfect for small group discussions. Both versions of Skype also have video conferencing, which might be important to your company's needs. While you can build ad hoc groups for chat and conference calling, the instant message threads are closed within your assigned groups and cannot be exposed company-wide if desired. Now there's Yammer. Although missing voice and video communications, Yammer is the go-to tool for many companies that have an internal culture that encourages one-to-many communication pathways. One way to describe Yammer is a giant discussion forum that groups, departments, and even the whole company can participate in. It has a built-in instant messaging tool, but its strength is threaded discussions. And the discussions are not designed to be in real time, meaning that people can participate as they are available and provide feedback and knowledge transfer without having everyone be online all at the same time. Tagging of messages also allows conversations to be available via search and used for data mining knowledge within a team, department, or company. Yammer group conversations can be public or private. And lastly, Yammer has some built-in basic file and note sharing. So now we're getting into tools that provide more than one service, trying to bridge the divide between communications and file sharing. The first one now is Office 365 Groups. When Microsoft migrated Exchange to the cloud, they also migrated the Exchange groups to the Office Online environment. Previously, an Office 365 group worked very much like an Exchange group. But very recently, the Office 365 groups now have undergone a huge transformation, and we'll discuss these changes in the next section of our talk. We also now have MS Teams. This is the newest tool in Microsoft's collaboration toolkit. Microsoft Teams is a wrapper for Office 365 group that gives the team and the team administrator a centralized web interface or a desktop application for one or more Office 365 groups. While the group email box is still there, it is now also backed by a modern SharePoint Teams site for file sharing and OneNote for collecting meeting notes and other information. Microsoft Teams is also bundled with Skype for Business as the base communication tool for threaded discussions and conference calling. And because Microsoft Teams is built on top of Office 365 groups, with Exchange, you also have the group calendar features. So, as you can see from the previous listing of collaboration tool parts, until recently Microsoft's been lacking a centralized hub with which to provide a team or department a base of operations for both communication, file calendar sharing. Historically, the team, department, or project manager has been juggling several distinct tools to keep their tasks organized, files updated, and communications on track. The individual tools available directly line up on either side of the file sharing and team communications divide. To bridge this divide, Microsoft is bundling all their primary tools with a modern SharePoint Teams site underneath. Just recently, Office 365 groups and Yammer groups, when created, now have a SharePoint Teams site created along with them, providing a shared document library and a shared OneNote file for meeting notes and ad hoc data collection. In addition, depending on the direction one creates the team collaboration tool, shared calendars, Power BI, and the new project app are also available. And as needed, Microsoft Power Apps and Microsoft Flow can be hooked into your team collaboration suite. With the next generation of Office 365 groups and Yammer communications, Microsoft is attempting to build a centralized team center that fits within different company communication cultures. The Microsoft collaboration choice is distilled down to basically 3 options, and each of these has a modern team site underneath it to provide the file sharing and other features. The first one is the old standard Office 365 group with an Exchange group attached. You have no centralized interface outside of Outlook. Email is a primary communication method, but you do get a bonus of a shared Exchange group calendar. The next one is the Office 365 group with a Yammer group. Yammer now becomes the centralized interface for your communications and file sharing. Yammer, therefore, is the primary communication method, but you have no shared group calendar. And lastly, you now have Office 365 groups with Skype for Business. Microsoft Teams becomes the centralized interface, and email and Skype are the primary communication methods, and because it's backed by Exchange, you get the group shared calendar. Additionally, it makes perfect sense to upsize your Office 365 groups with Exchange to a Microsoft team and gain that centralized interface lacking with just an Office 365 group and Outlook. Even if you're not interested in using Skype for Business for voice over IP, its group instant messaging will be helpful to your team communications. And the Skype message communications are treated like threaded discussions and stored within your Microsoft team environment for the whole group to revisit. If you're using Yammer as your communication method within the Office 365 group, you cannot convert that to a Microsoft team interface. Besides, there's really no need, since Yammer itself is the centralized interface for all your team collaboration. One important note, all modern team sites built with an Office 365 group or a Yammer group do not support SharePoint workflows. They are limited in branding and other site collection and site administration options, which are available to full SharePoint team sites. It's always important to assess the concerns you might have, and there are several direct challenges for your company with Microsoft Office 365 offerings. 1, it feels like a moving target. 2, it feels like there are internal competing interests within the suite offerings themselves. 3, Microsoft is communicating these options very poorly. The modern team sites are also not visible to current SharePoint administration tools. And lastly, the modern SharePoint team sites, as we discussed previously, are limited in feature scope compared to the full SharePoint team sites. These are all very important concerns, and while Microsoft is historically not known to build tools and then deprecate them with short life cycles, the latest cloud offerings are evolving quite rapidly. One reason is, in many areas, Microsoft is playing catch-up to existing tool sets. From a governance perspective, these new team site creation pathways are problematic. Currently, all modern SharePoint team sites are not available for administration via the current SharePoint Administration Center. More worrisome, all these sites count towards your SharePoint resources and drive space allocations. As much as you'd like to empower your teams, how do you track them over time and archive the ones not in use? Unfortunately, there's nothing on the Microsoft roadmap for administration enhancements for modern SharePoint team sites. The pressure is building for Microsoft to address these administration shortfalls. So, how do we select the correct tool for your company? Microsoft appears to be trying to support some significant differences in communication styles within companies. Group email communications is very different from Yammer, and Yammer-style communication is very different from Skype for Business. Additionally, there are only so many internal communication hubs you can expect your employees to use day to day. We believe that Microsoft has stepped up by building SharePoint team sites underneath all their group collaboration options. This allows you to have one offering for file sharing, team calendar, team tasks. But what about the critical communications piece? Well, here come the hard questions you need to answer. What is your company's internal culture of communication? How can you support what you are doing well? And how can you change or replace what you are doing poorly? As IT guys and gals, we have our communication prejudices, but we all need to find out what our departments and project managers are using. They really do have their own ideas, and many need to be communicated with directly in order to get them on board with any new tools and features. The kind of internal questions you need to be asking are your team and project managers using your currently offered SharePoint features? Are they heavily invested in email file sharing or network file shares? What instant messaging tools are being used around the office for communications? Are your teams and departments using unsupported communication tools in lieu of corporate standards? And importantly, why are they? Does the company need a broadcast forum tool to enhance corporate communications and assist with cross-departmental communications? Do you need to break down barriers? Do your teams and projects need tools that centralize your communications and file sharing needs for governance, archiving, and digital management requirements? Your current company communication culture is what will drive your decision to work with Office 365 groups with Yammer or Microsoft Team sites with Skype for Business. Choosing Microsoft Team sites doesn't preclude you from using Yammer and vice versa, but you'll find that internally your communication culture will drive adoption of one tool over the other. Well, as you know, there never is a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to team, departmental, and project digital management and communication. Adding on corporate communications to the mix can lead to analysis paralysis. So if you're looking to leverage your current Microsoft Office 365 features, we would be excited to help you find your core communication styles and assist you in configuring the available Office 365 toolset to support your company's core needs. The toolsets from Microsoft are beginning to coalesce into an exciting, full-featured suite of options for your company, and 2Plus2 is here to help you benefit from these changes. Well, thank you for your time today. I hope you have a better understanding of the Microsoft group collaboration options and how they can impact your teams and projects and company in a meaningful way. Do we have any questions? I've got one here. It says, I didn't mention external access. How does that fit in? Well, we purposely didn't talk about external access today, mainly because depending on the tool set, there are limited options. It's probably best to discuss that as a separate webinar at some point in the near future as that starts to become more of a full-featured option. Right now, it's fairly limited. We have another one here. What's the difference between Skype and Skype for Business? It's pretty simple. If you're familiar with the old Microsoft Link tool, that was rebranded as Skype for Business when Microsoft bought Skype. So the Skype is basically the public version, individual/public version, maybe even small business version of Skype. And Skype for Business is actually bundled with your Office 365 environment, depending on the licensing level that you have. They're two distinct applications with the same name. And let's see here. I have an existing SharePoint Teams site. Can I pair that with an Office 365 group? Unfortunately, no. If you have existing SharePoint Teams sites, they cannot be assigned to Office 365 groups. However, if you have existing Office 365 groups that you created before the latest update, Microsoft will be coming back around with a back-end process and creating team sites for you if they meet certain qualifications. Some of those are being whether they're private or public, and whether you've already bundled them with Yammer or they are Exchange groups. And then lastly, can you administer Microsoft Team sites through SharePoint admin interface? Unfortunately, no, you can't. But you can manage your Microsoft Teams sites through your Office 365 group administrator. The settings are basically public versus private, turn them on or off. And then you'll have to manually clean up the SharePoint Teams sites that are built behind them at this point in time. That's great. Thank you for your time today. We hope you will join us next month, Tuesday, March 7th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we will be looking at SharePoint branding, specifically how to navigate the modern UI versus the classic UI and stay inside the box, but still deliver something that your employees will love. Again, thank you for your time and hope to see you next month.